Hello lovely people and welcome to the Cookaway. My name is Jack and today we're going to be creating this beautiful Chateaubriand recipe with sides. In your boxes you will have had delivered all the ingredients to make this epic meal. You might have added in a couple of extras, that would be the mac and cheese and the corn ribs. A recipe card's included too, but in this video I'm going to walk you through the process to bring together this epic feast. Take note here of the prep times, the cook times, watch your timing, and without further ado, let's get going. We're going to start off with the sweet potato fry, so keeping things nice and simple to begin with. Grab your sweet potatoes, grab yourself a peeler, strip off those skins, place them to one side, top and tail, the ends of the sweet potato, and then we're just going to slice it. I'm going to take 2 slices and then turn it onto its side. It's just a little bit easier to chop that way, and then slice those little slices into smaller chips, wedges, fries, whatever you want to call them. Place them onto a baking tray and grab yourselves 3 cloves of garlic. Take off the ends, place your knife on the top and just give them a smash. That's going to help to release that skin from those garlic cloves. To the garlic we're going to add a good sprinkling of salt, and this is going to do 2 things. It's going to help to break that garlic down, remove the moisture, but it's also going to give us something to grind against. So use the back of a knife to kind of pull down on the garlic and mince it to a fine puree. You're going to then add that onto your sweet potato wedges along with a good drizzle, 2 to 3 tablespoons of olive oil, 20 grams of polenta, 1 teaspoon of cayenne pepper and 1 tablespoon of sweet and smoky paprika. That's going to give it depth of flavour and it's going to give it a lovely taste profile. Give that a good mix up, make sure it's evenly coated and transfer this into an oven. 220 degrees, 25 to 30 minutes until crispy and golden. We're now going to turn our attention to the roasted garlic corn ribs. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our sweet corn, cut it in half lengthways if it hasn't come like that already. You're then going to stand it up on its side with a sharp knife, cut it down once lengthways and then again into 3. Take extra care, the ribs can be pretty tough to do, but once you've done so you're going to pop them into a tray. Drizzle that with a good couple of tablespoons of olive oil, season it now liberally with salt and with pepper. And the next step is that we're going to sprinkle over a tablespoon of sweet smoked paprika. When this roasts, this is going to give a lovely depth of flavour. Rub that all in, make sure it gets in all the little cracks and transfer that to a hot oven to cook for 25 minutes, 250 degrees. Meanwhile, you're going to smash up some garlic cloves. You're going to take a saucepan and add in just a little bit of butter. 30 grams goes into the pan. Sprinkle some salt onto your garlic. Finely slice it and then use the back of a knife just to mash it slightly. You're not looking to puree it, but just to start to break it down. And once that butter has melted, you're going to add that garlic in, and now you're looking just to cook it out over a medium heat for 1 to 2 minutes. At this stage all you're really looking for is that garlic to soften. You don't want this to burn, you don't want that garlic to go brown or it will start to go bitter. All you're really looking to do is for it to soften. 2 minutes and then pop it into a little pot and set it to one side. After 25 minutes in the oven, the corn ribs have curled up slightly, they've taken on great flavour, and now you can toss it in that wonderful garlic butter. And these crispy corn ribs are ready to go. Right team, now it's time to make this beautiful Béarnaise sauce. For this recipe it's going to use a stick blender and it's a foolproof method. So into a pan we're going to add 60 ml of white wine vinegar, and then you're going to grab 1 shallot. Whilst that comes up to the boil, you just want to finely dice this. It doesn't have to be perfect because all we're looking to do here is extract some of the flavour from the shallot. That gets added to the white wine vinegar, and then we're going to grab our tarragon, and you're going to roughly chop less than half of the tarragon that's come in your cook-away box and add that into the white wine vinegar. Cook this now for 1 to 2 minutes, bring it up to the boil, allow those flavours to infuse before straining over a jug just to separate out the liquid from the tarragon and the shallots. You're going to set this to one side whilst we finish the rest of the sauce. So into a saucepan I'm going to add 200 grams of chopped butter. It seems like a lot, but this is a Bernay sauce after all, it's the absolute hero. Place that over a medium-high heat. Bring that up to a point at which the butter starts to melt and the foam and is fully molten. All the while you can chop up the remainder of your tarragon. once that butter's melted, you'll notice that the fats, the milk fats, the kind of white bits on top start to separate out of the butter underneath. So you're going to now decant this into a jug and try and leave behind as many of those white milk fats as possible in the pan. If any make their way into the jug, as it has done here, you're just going to grab yourself a spoon, you're going to tilt the jug to one side and just scoop up and skim off any of those excess milk fats, and this process is called clarifying. Lastly, you're going to grab your jug with 30 ml of the tarragon vinegar, add to that 3 egg yolks, and grab yourself a stick blender. You could of course put this into a bowl, set it over a pan of simmering water and whisk by hand, but the stick blender just helps with the emulsification. To that, you're going to slowly incorporate your clarified butter. This process should take 1 to 2 minutes. It's been sped up for the purpose of this video, but take your time, allow it to fully emulsify, and you should be left with a beautifully smooth base to your Bernay sauce. Grab a lemon, slice off a wedge and squeeze in. Season now with salt and with pepper, and then lastly add in your chopped tarragon, give it a stir and decant into your favourite jug. Now just a note, this will keep for up to an hour in a warm place, but any longer than that you'll notice the sauce will start to firm up, so keep it warm and use it within the hour. It's not something that you can later reheat. Okay, and now we're going to tackle the main event, the Chateaubriand. This is a 16-ounce beauty. You're going to drizzle it with olive oil, season it with salt and with pepper, and be liberal at this stage because a lot of this seasoning is going to come off during the cooking. But the Chateaubriand comes from the top of the fillet. It's got huge amounts of flavour. It's incredibly tender. This has been aged and it's Angus beef, and it's going to be absolutely sublime. So set that to one side whilst you grab yourself a pan. Drizzle again another couple of tablespoons of olive oil, get it onto a really high heat so the pan is smoking, and that's crucial. If it's not smoking, if it doesn't sizzle when the beef goes in, do not start to cook it yet. But you need a deep, heavy frying pan, something that's going to retain the heat. This is a cast iron pan that can be transferred straight into the oven, so you've got one of those, then absolutely perfect. If not, any frying pan will do, but the most important, the most crucial thing is that this pan is seriously hot. You're going to sear it all over. This process should take a couple of minutes, and you're looking for that kind of dark caramelization, those deep colours. Don't be too afraid of going too far. At this point, you're going to take a bowl with garlic, half it lengthways, and add that into the pan. And then 5 to 6, maybe 7 sprigs of thyme, and then lastly butter. So 30 to 40 grams of butter goes in. Now do bear in mind you're not going to consume all this butter. This is there to baste the beef. It's there to encourage the development of some incredible flavours, and what you're going to do is just melt that down. It's going to burn, it's going to start to caramelise and turn into brown butter, burn the rosette, and that's what we're looking for because that means flavour. Tilt the beef to one side of the pan, push the garlic and the thyme up too, and then just tilt the pan to one side to create this well of foaming butter. You're just going to grab yourself a spoon and baste over the beef fillet. Take a couple of minutes, flip it over, but give that beef fillet a lovely bath in this foaming butter, and it's going to add tremendous amounts of flavour. So keep doing this a couple of minutes, lift up and flip over the garlic, lift off any thyme that's stuck to the bottom of the pan, otherwise that's going to burn in the oven. Grab some cherry tomatoes, add that in, and then this is going to be transferred into a really hot oven, so 200 to 220 degrees. It's going to cook for 12 minutes for rare, 15 minutes for medium, 18 minutes for slightly more well done. So do so to your liking. It should be springy to the touch if you want it to still be pink on the inside. Transfer it onto a plate. The most important part now is you rest this beef, so up to 15 minutes, as long as you've cooked it, and this is going to relax the muscle. It's going to keep the moisture inside, and it's going to ensure that that beef is incredibly tender when you do come to slice it. And now I bring you cheesy goodness, people. We are making our 3 cheese truffled mac and cheese. So firstly, 200 grams of dried macaroni goes into a saucepan. Bring that up to the boil, and you're going to cook it for 5 to 7 minutes until it's cooked through, it's slightly al dente, and it's got a slight bite to it. Meanwhile, we're going to grate our 3 cheeses. So we've got 50 grams of Parmesan, 50 grams of an extra mature cheddar, and 50 grams of Gruyere. And you're just going to pass that through a fine grater. If you've got any little bits, little chunks left over that didn't quite go through, just chop them up roughly. The aim is to just make it fine enough to melt into our cheese sauce. Once the pasta's cooked, you're going to taste it, drain it, clean your pan, and add in 30 grams of butter. Allow that to melt and add in an equal quantity, 30 grams of plain flour. Grab yourself a trusty little whisk it to combine. You're looking to ensure there are no lumps, and then you're going to add in truffle oil. So 2 or maybe 3 teaspoons of truffle oil goes in, depending on how strong you like it. Whisk that back, it's going to loosen up slightly, and now you can add in the milk. So we've got 250 ml of milk and 100 ml of cream goes into this mix. You can add it bit by bit in the slightly more traditional way of making a cheese sauce. However, adding it all at once also yields this beautifully smooth sauce. The most important thing is you cook it out for a couple of minutes until it starts to thicken, at which point you can add in those 3 cheeses. Reserve 25 grams of mature cheddar for the topping, but add that in, allow it to melt, stir it vigorously, and you'll be left with this silky bechamel, this silky cheese sauce, to which you can add your macaroni. If it's clumped together a little bit like mine has, do not worry. You can break it up, you can cover it, coat it in that unctuous cheesy sauce, and hey people, just look at how good that looks. I'm going to now transfer this into any oven-proof dish. I'm using a cast iron skillet that just goes straight under the grill. But before it does, turn out your glorious macaroni cheese into it. You're going to push down and kind of smooth it out just to form a nice even layer, and sprinkle over some panko breadcrumbs, just enough to add a little crust. They're going to go golden and caramelise as it cooks. And then lastly, 25 grams of cheddar cheese to top it all off. Whilst the steak rests, and for the last 5 to 10 minutes, you're going to pop this under a hot grill, 250 degrees, as high as it will go, just until that crust forms on the outside, until it's piping hot and it's steaming throughout and that cheese sauce is nicely melted. Don't cook it for too long or it will start to absorb that sauce and be a little bit dry. You want to make sure it's done right at that last minute, but just take a look at that. And now it's time just to add a little bit of something green to the table. I'm using a side salad, but you guys have had peppery watercress delivered to your home, so you're going to drizzle that with a little bit of olive oil, some balsamic glaze, just for a little bit of sweetness. Grab a pair of tongs, give that a nice toss in the dressing, and turn out onto some sort of plate platter to pop onto the table. And here we have it, our selection of 5 delicious sides. Hopefully you've made some, if not all of these. And this is going to accompany our beautiful beef fillet that's been resting for 15 or 20 minutes or so. You can see it's incredibly tender. It's got a light spring to it. Remove that string, and with a sharp knife, slice this into generous portions. You've got 16 ounces of this to go around, so plenty for 2. And there it is. Thank you so much from me. Thank you so much from the Cookaway for getting involved. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope you have a very special evening. Thank you.